While you watch the video above, I want you to understand, as we discussed today, the difference between the African church and, would I say, the American church.
In the name of Jesus, don't cut my mic off. This week, I was surprised with a contract that was titled Pastoral Transition Agreement. And it was told to me that the board of this church, which consists of 2 people, want me to leave town. And they made me an offer to pay for all of my moving expenses and to keep me on payroll for 6 months if I would come to you and tell you that I miss California so much that I want to go home. There was to be a fake announcement made by me and a member of the board to pretend like they were sad to see me go, like they didn't want to see me go, and like the announcement caught them off guard. On June the 11th, there was to be a going away party for me. They told me, if you leave town, we'll fund wherever you go. If you stay here, we won't give you another dime. Can I be transparent? I'm being transparent. I lost my temper and cussed them completely out. I told them I'm not leaving the people. Told them I have a 10-year-old son, a 14-year-old daughter, a 16-year-old son. You can't expect me to uproot my family and leave town. And it's all because I initiated a conversation a year ago that made everybody so uncomfortable that they stopped speaking to me. I was told, you're an amazing preacher, one of the best, but you're a bad pastor. I said to them, God has used me to carry this church through healing, restoration, reconciliation, through a pandemic, through bringing people back safely. And you have the nerve to tell me all of the emails, texts, and phone calls that I've sent proposing classes and programs and outreach things that have gone completely ignored. And you have the nerve to tell me that if you stay in town, you can't come within 50 miles of the church. You think I'm lying? I got the contract in my possession. I told my wife this morning, I'm not gonna say anything. But doggone it, the people have been through too damn much. You've been lied to for too long, manipulated too long. I'm sick of the foolishness. I'm sick of it. And the devil is a liar. If they don't let me back after today, I'll let you know where I'm going. Because it's one for all and all for one. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Now, from what I understand in that video, probably that particular church does not have any other branch elsewhere. Sometimes when these kind of things happen in a church that has different branches, what would happen is that they had to put the pastor from that church to maybe another branch while they do an exchange. So probably they have just that church and then they have a board.
The first role of a church board is to find the right leadership. The most crucial duty of a church board is to find a pastor to lead the congregation. Finding the right pastor is vital to a church's long-term success. Alright, we have all heard horror stories of churches being brought down because of this decision like we are looking at right now. The church itself is probably going to go down because of what this pastor has decided to do by double-crossing the board. The best way to start is by forming a search committee. This committee will begin conversations with church members about their needs and expectations and possibly receive suggestions of potential prospects. After determining what your church is looking for, the committee can then seek outside counsel to find the best pastor for your church. So pastors are being scouted for churches just like how, footballers are being scouted for teams or something. Some people actually go to seminary school and then they get educated, or would I say go to pastoral school, and then they apply for the job of being a pastor in a particular congregation or something. So the board are the ones that actually get to find the pastor. Apparently this pastor doesn't want to leave, but we'll discuss that when I get back to the studio. The next is right here to provide spiritual support. They ensure that the mission of the church is being followed. They ensure continuous growth of the church.
Over in Africa, it's a lot different, you understand, because in Africa, it's more of like the pastor is the one in charge. The board or the elders, let me say the elders. If it was in biblical terms, you would say elders. But in this case, when we say the board, it's more of like an establishment, something that has to be in place with running a particular church organization. So the board also gets to have a higher decision to a great extent than even the pastor themselves, okay? But over in Africa, it's more of like the pastor is the one in charge. You dare not question the pastor. You dare not say, just imagine like the general overseers, in Nigeria, the board or the elders in the church saying that they want to change them, like the ones I've exposed many times of their gimmicks and all. They still thrive because, of course, they are the ones in charge. They own the church. But in this case right now, the pastor himself coming out to speak like this, these are some things you have to know, because you have to listen attentively to get out what I'm deducing from this. He's already gotten the contract, so no matter what he does, to a great extent, even with this video right now, I think he's not going to remain in that church. And even if he remains not with that board, and like I said, the board are the ones that are typically in charge. If not, why would he be so concerned that he has to come out and speak publicly like this? And while he was speaking, the media team is there, the organists are there. You could see that from that particular church setting, who is the one really in charge based on what happens. He is the one that is in charge with respect to the attention. He is the one that the audience knows. He is the one that the media team and everyone who work with him knows. But the board are, on paper, probably I would say, higher than him, and I can actually make him leave if they want him to leave. Then he talks about, the question you have to ask yourself is, how many times has he been told to lie before? How many times has he worked with the same board to do things that may not actually be the right things? Because if he says in the video that he's tired of the manipulation and how the people are manipulated and all that, how does the board get to manipulate the people? If not through him, that is the one the people themselves know. So he understands the relationship he's had with the board for a long time to get to the point where he gets exasperated and angry. In the video, I don't know if he said something much later on, in the video he doesn't mention the main cause of the problem or what he had proposed to the board that required that he had to leave that particular church. But like I always tell you right here as well, he's been there in that particular craft for a long time and feels that moving with his family is going to be something hectic for him. What happened to let God fight for you situation? But he understands one thing. He's the one that has the attention. He's the one that has pastored the people for long. And this is what happens when churches, would I say, break. Where if a pastor is breaking from a particular church, most times the members follow him to wherever he's going. And that's why he seized the opportunity. And even though he presented himself as not wanting to lie, saying the devil is a liar, the board themselves are now the ones that are liars. So look at the entire church right there, praising him, even though, of course, technically he was cursing. He said he cursed them out and also used a damn word in church as well. I was reading comments about that and people were not happy with a pastor going from being spiritual and going into the flesh. I thought maybe he was supposed to be, very much humble, like a pastor, and then long-suffering, they say. But understanding that when it comes to church and what happens, whether you like it or not, it's a kind of business, I would say. He gets to pay this, he gets to be paid a salary, he gets to have allowance, and talking about his family and all that, he had already planted himself in that church to make it a part of him, and then him leaving is something that he doesn't find conceivable. Now, these are two things that I think is going to happen. I don't know about the full story, but either he's going to have another church or another building in that same city so he can have access to the same people. Because had it been the church wanted him, if they had another branch, maybe the contract would have proposed that he go to a branch in his home and then go pastor over there. That would have been a good offer, but this is where he has to leave, and probably this pastor doesn't have any other thing else he does aside being a pastor. So it was a tough decision for him, I would say, and him to be put on a salary for 6 months. I think the offer itself must have been very good, but the question is, why would the board themselves think that it's not right for him to remain there with respect to what he said? That he is a good preacher, but not a good pastor. Is it that there were some things, or there's a way the board thinks he should be running the church, or some things he is supposed to be doing that he is not doing? But the way you see the audience get to cheer him in that particular process of what was happening is just for you to know that the person's voice that you get to listen to the most, the person that gets to influence you the most when it comes to your work in whatever thing, builds some form of loyalty in you by default. But sometimes you may not really get to understand the details. So imagine the board made of two persons being the ones now to be technically hated by the congregation. The fact remains that if the board had presented him a contract and they want him out, he knows that he cannot stay there against the will of the board or against how things are supposed to function. So he does have to leave. And that is a fact. But the thing is that it's not going to be between him, the board, and the members. Because whether you like it or not, you need members in your church. That's why he said one for all and all for one. And wherever he's going to communicate to them. If he leaves that particular building, how many people are going to follow him to where he's going? The fact is, you haven't heard from the board. I have seen videos of things like this. Last year we discussed in this video, I have seen videos where board members have taken decisions against pastors, their pastor, for the right reasons, like this particular video. It trended about, I think, a year ago or something. And it was the right call that the board themselves made, because the pastor seemed to have been almost, or if not, involved in a particular scandalous situation. But what did the board do? The board protected the image of the pastor and did not come out to say this or say that, but let the pastor himself control the narrative and not really share the story maybe as it was originally, to save the integrity and the image of the pastor in that particular situation. So people did not get to know the full details. And that is why the board themselves got to meet this pastor, the one we discussed before this time, personally, and then tried to make his transition smooth. Now, whatever the board comes out tomorrow to say that might be the real situation why he should not be around, which might be true or what they are seeing, the people may see that as a blackmail or as a lie, or as a lie told about him. So this pastor decides to own the narrative and then share his own part of the story to the audience. So right now, he has the attention of the audience. Whatever the board gets to do tomorrow, or say tomorrow, might fall on deaf ears because they see it to be that the board themselves are a devil while he himself is a saint. Someone would say in the comments, oh, so that means you are speaking against this pastor. Let me ask you a question. This was supposed to be an internal affair. Were the board right to tell him that he has to lie about the situation? Of course, that is wrong. But while you are telling the people of them telling you to lie, did you tell the people of what you confronted them of that they do not like? Is it about the confrontation actually? Or is there something else that the board have seen as a reason of you not being suitable to be in that church? No one is